Welcome to the Alaska Report. I'm Senator Mark Begich. This show is designed to inform you about issues, programs, and people important to Alaska. In this edition of Alaska Report, I'm welcoming the latest group of fabulous young Alaskans interns working in my office in Washington, D.C. all through the summer here, in the hot summer, I must say. Several times a year, we have interns working in Alaska and in D.C. They get a chance to do a number of things, such as work on legislation, work on the media, and help Alaskans who contact our office navigate the many questions they have about the federal government. With me today are Rosalie Abbott of Anchorage, Reid of Kotzebue, Elizabeth Wagner of Juneau, and Michael Caulfield of Fairbanks. First off, let's start with each one of them telling a little bit about yourself, if you'd like. And Rosalie, we're going to start with you. You get the first shot at the ability to see how you do here with the microphone. Then once you're done, just pass the microphone. But tell us a little about yourself and why did you want to come to Washington?
Sure. Well, as you said, my name is Rosalie Abbott. I was born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska, and now I'm about to start my senior year at Bryn Mawr College, which is just outside of Philadelphia.
Right.
And I wanted to come to Washington I'm really interested in history, so I thought this would kind of be a good opportunity and just kind of to see how the Senate operates for Alaskans.
That's fantastic. And there's no question about it here. There is a lot of history in Washington. Reid?
I'm Reid. I was born and raised in Kotzebue. I spent 4 years in Nome at one point in there. I'm a rising junior at Yale University out in...
A rising junior.
Rising
That's good.
junior. That's the way they put it out there.
I like it.
In New Haven, Connecticut, a long ways from home for me. And I'm majoring in environmental studies, emphasis on natural resource management, environmental policy. So fantastic. I was just curious to see how things actually went through the Senate, how it all worked over here.
Yeah, I'll be asking you a little bit about that, what your impression is in a second here. Elizabeth?
Okay, my name is Elizabeth Wagner. I'm from Juneau, and I went to university at McGill University in Montreal. I also studied history, and I actually already graduated, and I worked for a couple years at a TV and radio station in Juneau. And I've also done quite a bit of traveling in Latin America. And just over the years, I've developed a pretty strong interest in politics, and I'm really glad that I got to come to D.C. to get an insider's view on how it all works.
Well, there's no question about it. I mean, first off, you guys, before we go to Michael here, you do get an insider's view because you're in a compacted area where you work. Is that a fair statement? Mm-hmm. So everything that moves through our office will pass you in some way. Is that fair?
Yes, that is a fair assessment. We're actually in a hallway, so it literally passes by us.
My first job when I worked for Mayor Knowles, when he was mayor, I was in a cubbyhole. So I clearly understand. You guys got better standards, I'll tell you that. Michael?
Well, I'm Michael Caulfield. I'm from Fairbanks. I'm representing the Fairbanks Alaska School District, or University District at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. I came here, I worked on your campaign,
right,
and I just couldn't get enough of you, so I had to come back out and
sorry about that.
get a little more punishment. Yeah.
There we go. But now let me ask you, we'll start with you, Michael. Tell our viewers what area you're focused on and what you're working on in a sense of subjects or areas of work in the office.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely interested in like environmental and energy issues.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to law school for environmental law. Mm-hmm. Once I'm done with UAF, I'm going to be a senior this year. So I've been working with Michael Johnson a little bit.
On our energy policy work that we're doing?
Definitely, yeah. There's, hopefully some energy legislation will be coming to the Senate soon. So it's been good to be able to prep for that and see what we can actually get passed.
It's actually somewhat amazing when you think about the work we're doing in Washington, D.C. right now and how many different pieces of legislation are moving through the system in regards to energy. Not only oil and gas, but renewable energy, conservation, everything. You get to see, I guess, a piece of everything. Is that a fair statement there?
Yeah, definitely. There's just a lot going on right now. I remember actually when I was on the campaign and I was driving you around, we went to the Flint Hills refinery in Fairbanks,
That's right.
And it was interesting to hear about what they're doing to try and lower energy costs and get lower costs to Alaskans who obviously still are struggling with quite a bit right now. So energy reform is important,
That's right.
specifically in Alaska.
Flint's a good one example because they struggle at times on capacity, but also the issue is what they can do to continue to improve their system there to provide more fuel and capacity for the rest of the state. So that's a good example.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, tell them I know what you do because every day I get an email from you, or at least your name on there, and it has all these clips from all over print media as well as electronic and the blogosphere. Tell the audience kind of what you do there.
Yeah. So I've been the media intern here in your office this summer, and basically every day I compile clips. So I look for news clippings about what's being written about you in various media outlets,
sure
the
that's
positive,
good,
the
but,
negative, and
that's
everything
good.
in between.
That's right.
And also about Alaska politics and what's going on back home in Alaska. And so I put together the list of media clippings and send them out to everybody in the office on a daily basis.
Now I have to ask you this question. I never asked this of the intern who does media and does the clippings. Do you actually read all the articles, or do you skim them and you say, "Oh, there's a name," and you don't have to answer that?
I read most of them. I
That's
would say
good.
I do kind of do a little headline skimming though.
There's
as
some
well.
interesting ones. I think a couple days ago, a few days ago, if I saw one you had clipped, it was from a guy's blog, and he was describing, because I make calls at night to Alaskans that are pulled from our emails, and I had called this gentleman who was not a happy camper, you might say, and his wife said, and actually was a clipping that you pulled, and he ended up putting it on his blog, his experience of this phone call, which I thought was very interesting, and those are always, to me, it's great to see the articles and all that, but when you have people responding to something we've done in the office, or like in my case, I made a call to this gentleman's house and left a message for him, and his wife was trying to explain to him it really was me, it wasn't a recording.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
you
those
could
are
tell
fun.
that he had really been impressed by actually getting a phone call
Right.
from you to go ahead and go to his blog and
he actually
write about
even,
it.
And he even said, I don't agree necessarily with Begich all the time, but this was something different. I thought that was very
Impressed him.
interesting. So.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to see what people are saying.
And you get to see the national newspapers and magazines and shows that are covering bits and pieces about Alaska in a way, because indirectly, obviously, if they cover what we're doing, they're talking about Alaska, and it's amazing because when you live in Alaska, we only see a limited amount of media, but here it's just a widespread.
Yeah, we see all the clips from news outlets back home in Alaska, but also there's stories on a national
over.
basis. Yeah.
Reid, tell us what area you're covering and what you're working on.
Being from Kotzebue, I'm pretty interested in any issue related to the bush.
Yep.
So I'm like Michael. I'm also kind of interested in the energy stuff, and I've been working with Michael Johnson along with Michael and going to staff briefings and hearings related to energy. But I've also worked with some of your other legislative people on issues like expanding broadband in rural Alaska Universal Service Fund, which is a big deal out there. That's up for reauthorization soon, so I did some work on that. And I'm also interested in rural education, so I've been trying to stay up to date with that as best I can.
Oh, you got a good handful. I mean, broadband, which is, as you said, is very important to Alaska. We just had the FCC, one of the FCC commissioners in Alaska, Commissioner Clyburn, had an experience to go to an urban setting, then off to a rural setting in a village, and really
She
got
actually came to Kotzebue.
Yeah, she came out to Kotzebue and a village. I can't remember which village she
Cayenne.
went, and it was amazing. She has come back, and she actually wrote something on her blog. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, I did. Megan
And her
sent that
whole
out.
experience about being in Alaska, which I think really had an impact to her. And I hope as we figure out the end story here on broadband, our hope is, as you know, our goal from our office is to have Alaska 100% high-speed broadband connected. And having someone like that up there is great, and having you to kind of feed the information, I know that's part of it.
You really can't understand it till you've been there, and the bush is just another world.
That's right.
We really definitely need that broadband too. My brother's always complaining about my internet's so slow. And
slow.
He comes and visits me at college and downloads all his movies. So
All his movies,
we
yeah.
could use the broadband up there.
Well, it's good for economic development, social activities, but also for health delivery systems.
Oh, yeah.
Very important for telehealth
Hugely important.
and teleeducation. You know, for us to deliver into rural Alaska, high-speed broadband will be a critical part.
Yeah, it's huge.
Rosalie, tell us.
I've been focusing mostly on military defense veterans issues since I've been here, it's really interesting just to compare military issues on a national level and those in Alaska.
Right.
I live not too far from Elmendorf
I was
Air
going to say,
Force
you live
Base.
literally near the gate, right?
Yeah, really,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'd always had kind of passing knowledge of that facility and kind of what's going on in Alaska, but it's really interesting to, learn more about how it works on a national level too.
And you get a chance, which is interesting because we have committee assignments on armed services and veterans, and so you get to kind of see both ends of it. One, the active military, but also what happens afterwards when they retire and the services that are needed. And there's no question in Alaska, I know you've learned this very quickly, that 11% of the population is veterans, the highest per capita in the nation, and the services that are required are significant. So it's I like you, it's amazing every time you kind of learn more about it, where Alaska fits in this big picture of national defense and our veterans and how they all piece into it.
Absolutely.
Well, I loved it when my staff put these together, and I'm not going to ask you the next question yet until we come back from break, but it says here, take questions from interns. So I'm going to do that when we come back from the break, but we got about 3 minutes. I'm going to ask you very quickly, what's the most enjoyable thing about the work? And we know the weather is too darn hot. 95 with 95% humidity is tough for us Alaskans, but what's the most enjoyable thing so far about your work? And we got about 2.5 minutes. We'll try to do a rapid fire here.
Sure. Well, I've actually really enjoyed researching letters to constituents. I'm a history major, so I like research a lot, and it's actually been really gratifying, really interesting to be able to think kind of every day.
This is a good skill to have because you know what that's all of you know what that's like. The letters come in. We get about 1,000 emails, letters, and phone calls every single week that have to be responded to. So that's a tough job. Reid?
I can't say the research excites me quite as much, but
honesty is good.
You always do some. Probably the thing I like most is we're able to sit in on what they call staff time with you, which is basically when your staffers can all come into your office and ask you questions about basically whatever they want, and we really get to hear the real senator and the real staffers going back and forth. How should we deal with this? So that's awesome.
That's an interesting time, you must say. I'll say that.
I've been impressed at one of the most positive things I think about your office is your staff and how welcoming they've been with all of us, and I've been really impressed with them. And also something I've really enjoyed doing is going around to hearings and briefings and being able to learn a lot about an array of different topics.
That's the one thing about being here in Washington, especially in the Capitol. It is almost like every university combined into one building, because you can pretty much look at the day and see just about anything being covered. Michael?
Yeah, I guess I'll just look at the overall picture. I just really appreciate being, in the middle of the action. And, people always complain that, the Senate's not doing enough. And, sometimes there might be some credibility to that. But, it's great to be actually there and, be able to see how hard everyone is, working to try and, help people and, work on very small constituent issues that, to most people it doesn't matter, but to, one specific person, it's very important.
That's right.
So it's good to see that, everyone is working, and it's nice to be part of that action.
I have to tell you that is one probably the most gratifying parts of the work. We can do all the big policy and all that, which we'll do, but the part where you can solve a problem for an individual who calls our office, who in their life that item is the biggest thing at that moment. In our mix, it might be a very small thing in the big picture, but it's very exciting to do that. So your point is well taken. We're going to take a quick break. We'll return to Alaska Report in a few minutes. And when we come back, we will continue talking with the 4 young Alaskans working here in our D.C. office this summer as interns. We'll be right back, and they'll get an opportunity to ask me questions.
It's one of the many ways to fight osteoarthritis pain. For more information on managing pain, go to fightarthritispain.org.
On January 12th, a massive earthquake ravaged Haiti's capital, taking the lives of hundreds of thousands of people and leaving millions more without water, food, and shelter.
During our time in public service, we've witnessed firsthand the extraordinary generosity of the American people in the face of tragedy. here at home and around the world.
But there's still so much to do. So please join the Clinton Bush Haiti Fund and other organizations as we answer the call to help Haiti build back better. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Alaska Report. I'm Senator Mark Begich. Today I'm talking to 4 young Alaskans working in my D.C. office this summer as interns. They're Rosalie Abbott, Reid Megadons, Elizabeth Wagner, and Michael Caulfield. Welcome back, and as you know on the break, you got a few seconds to think about those questions you might want to ask me. And as we do this taping, it's very interesting. As we were told on the break, there's a vote that's about to occur. And that's how it kind of works around here. Is you probably got a real good, we'll have a scheduled meeting, be doing things, and suddenly these votes occur, and we have to kind of rush off. But it's your opportunity. Who has the microphone? Oh, Michael, of course. So you get the first opportunity if you have a question and you want to ask. I'll try to answer it. It's a new part of our intern. I'm not sure I'll like this, but let's try it.
Well, yeah, talking about like energy issues, obviously a big part of the gubernatorial race this fall is about, the gas line. What are we going to do to, get gas down to the lower 48 or down to Anchorage or down to Valdez, wherever. And I guess my question would be, what do you think we can do too? And what can you do? What would you like to see done to, make energy cheaper and, get maybe one of those lines working?
Well, your point is right about the gas line. I think from a lot of perspectives for Alaska, it's a huge project. It will employ thousands of people, create an opportunity for us to have access to gas for South Central, which is in desperate need. But the other piece is this is an important part in our long-term energy plan for this country. Gas is clean burning fuel, and it's an opportunity. When you think of Alaska, we have 1/3 of the gas supply of the country, but we can't tap into it because we don't have that access point. We can do several things as we work through the energy bill, making sure we have the right loan guarantees to incentivize the private sector to build that line, make sure we can expedite the permitting process so we don't spend years struggling to just get the permits to move that line forward, and then making sure we have the right access points for the market. So not only in Alaska, which is the first priority in my view, that we need to make sure Alaska gets the gas that we need to ensure that we have the supply, and then the secondaries to the overall market. So I think there's definitely some roles we can play on the federal end. I would hope that after all the open season areas close off, that the president will look at this as a national interest project and raise it up. If they do that, then more federal resources come to the table to help make this happen. Elizabeth?
Okay. One of my questions has to do with the lands bill and
the Sea Alaska lands
Sea
bill?
Alaska lands bill. And I'm from Southeast Alaska, so it's a big issue for us, and it's become kind of a controversial issue.
To say the least.
And one of the things that we hold most dear as Alaskans, I think, is appreciating the natural beauty of the land and being able to have recreational opportunities. And that's something that people are afraid is going to be taken away, or that there's going to be development on the land that might not be sustainable. So my question is, what can we do, what can you do to sort of overcome the impasse on this issue, and what can you do to ensure that the Tongass remains alive and well?
Right. Well, that's a good, I will tell to the viewers that there are no easy questions from these group. I can already feel that is a very hot issue down there. You have to kind of step back and look at the whole Sea Alaska issue. And first off, Sea Alaska is owed land through the Native Land Claims Act from years ago that has not been settled. We also have some landless communities. We also have some trades that Mental Health Lands wants to do. There's a variety of other issues with the Tongass. So we have a kind of a multifaceted problem down there and challenge. It's been going on for 20 plus years. And what's happened is, because of our inability as a state to sit down and try to resolve this, courts have been making these decisions. And that's the worst land use people, in the sense of that judges are saying this is the way it will be on certain lawsuits that are filed. So we're getting this kind of hodgepodge of decision making, which long term from a land use issue is very dangerous for us. So having this bill on the table, the Sea Alaska bill, and there's a lot of work to be done on it. There's a lot of back and forth going on, has been painful. To be very frank with you, with the Southeast community. But it's also been, I think, positive in the fact that everyone's putting everything on the table, meaning that we're really finally talking about these issues. What was happening in the past, people would talk about them, but not really talk about them. And then they would go off with their group and then really talk about them, but no one would hear that. So what's happening now, it's kind of my approach is kind of a tough love approach, is you got to put it all on the table. As Alaskans, we do this on every issue, and this is one that we have to resolve, because we can't spend the next 20 years having courts make these decisions or us infighting. I think there is a balance here that we can resolve the issues with Sea Alaska and their land entitlements. We can preserve the components of Tongass that need to be preserved, and also have a healthy, and I think there's some great opportunities down there with the timber industry in a small way that has been developed in 3 or 4 of these mills that have been doing a great job, but they need long term. I think there's a balance that we can approach here. And then when we're done kind of going through that process, we also have to make sure we are not harming our environment for the fisheries, which is the big issue, that many of the creeks have had negative impacts, which now work into our watersheds, which of course affect our fisheries. So it's a very complex issue, but I think putting this bill on the table has forced everyone to come to the table. You've seen the emails, the news articles, we've seen the people in our office coming in, and I've never seen this kind of interest until now. And sometimes you have to put a piece of legislation down to force people to have honest discussions about really what we need to be doing. Is there a simple answer yet? No. Do I think we can move to one? Yes, because more and more people are starting to see where there's moments of compromise. And we just kind of work through this, and it's painful. I mean, when I was in the mayor's office, the toughest issues were land use issues, because you had neighbors complaining about what was going to happen, or you had some developer who wanted to do something, the neighborhood didn't want it, or city. But if you get everyone sitting down in the same room, kind of going through their venting, their anger at the same time with constructive ideas, we can get down this road. And that's what's starting to happen. We're not there yet. We're getting there. But we just, have to be patient in a lot of ways. But it's my policy is kind of tough love, and it's not, and the problem is, luckily I got alligator skin, because otherwise I'd be in great pain today. Reid?
So my question's a little more on a personal level. Both you and I in the last 2 years have had to go from Alaska to some major East Coast urban areas.
Yeah.
And one of the toughest things I've found is connecting with people who kind of cannot even begin to conceptualize where you come from. And you have a very different background personally, professionally, and just than many of your other colleagues in the Senate. And I was wondering, how do you find it working with people who can't really understand the place you come from and don't really understand the experiences that you base your decisions off of?
That's actually a great question. It's not only with my colleagues, as you know, with staff members, because there's a lot of new staff members, and they've never been to Alaska, so they have no idea. In the last year and a half, we've been very fortunate to bring 7 cabinet secretaries to Alaska. So those folks, first experiences, and we bring them into an urban area, a hub, and then a village, because it's very important to see the whole picture. That has had great impact on people. We're bringing in administration, people and so forth also. My colleagues, it's a constant kind of education process, in the caucus meetings or at the committee meetings, or when we're having hearings, and some of you have seen this, where someone might say something and I say, well, like today in Veterans, someone mentioned, it was a senator from Montana explaining where the site is that their veterans have to call, which is about 1,000 miles away. And I had to explain to them that, well, that's nice, but our folks' call center is also far away, and it's about 3,000 miles away. So we have to go through this constant explanation, and then inviting people up. Once they're there, it's an amazing response. They really understand the impacts and the uniqueness of the state. But it's a constant reminder, and photos are the greatest example. When you can show them one photo and say, this is what it's like. When we dealt with an aviation issue recently and had to explain that the transportation method is not just driving a car down the street, for example, Kotzebue to some village, you got to fly, and you're flying in small planes. So you spend your time kind of weaving it into the conversation of the day, and that's how you have to do it. You want to be careful not to be kind of, Alaska is always different kind of attitude, but it is, so you have to figure out how to weave it into the conversation of the day. And when you do that, I think people are very respectful and are wanting to learn. And that's what you want to try to do, open that door of learning and then bring examples. And so that's what we try to bring Alaskans down here, and we do that on occasion. Today we had a hearing, we had someone from Cordova talking about Exxon Valdez oil spill, and that was good. So but it's not easy.
No, it's not.
Rosalie?
As a college student who's pretty shortly going to have to start paying back student loans, I was
And
just
you're going
wondering.
to pay those on time, right?
Well, naturally. I was just wondering if you have any insight into maybe improvements or changes that could be made in a system that's obviously incredibly important for helping, kids go to college, but, is also flawed, like anything else.
Yeah, there's always, and you're right, there's always room for improvement on the loans and the grants that we do. Before I was mayor, I served 7 years as a volunteer. You think about 7 years as a volunteer on the Student Loan Corporation as its chair on the Post-Secondary Education Commission. And we had to reform that system because it was basically going to collapse and there was going to be no student loan program. And so we got very busy and reformed it. Even though I don't sit on the Education Committee here in the Senate, we're very active. As you know, Diane DeSanto and Bruce are very busy working on some education ideas. And last year, we increased the amount, actually it was this year in the final outcome, but we increased the amount of Pell Grants, which was important. We now have direct student loans, which cut out the middlemen, which probably will save taxpayers about $60 billion, which means that's available to put into student loans, which we think are important. We're busy today. We had a hearing on the GI Bill to expand into making sure that we allow people who want to go on to not only degreed colleges, but if they want to go on to certifications. If they want to be an electrician, a plumber, whatever that skill is that they're looking for, that we expand that opportunity. So there's multiple avenues that we're working on, but the biggest challenge will be affordability, and where I think we will be successful over time with the direct loaning program to make sure that we can keep those interest rates down and the repayment schedule, a balanced repayment schedule. But education, the one thing I hope we not only deal with the college education, but the one piece we're going to be very interested in our office is pre-K. That is a huge investment you can make with a great return. For every dollar we put in early education, it's about a $7 return on the back end. If you can do it at the front end like that, the net result is kids are going to be well prepared for their educational opportunities. So those are some of the things. Now, because you got to ask all these questions, and I feel like I was in a debate here and I had to respond, but we only have a little bit of time, about a minute and a half, so let me just ask you very quickly, would you recommend this internship to other people? I'll just leave it at that because we have very limited time.
Absolutely, I would. First of all, it's just really fun. I have a good time every day, but you also learn a lot, and I think you feel really good about yourself. You feel like you're actually helping people.
Great, Reid?
Yeah, of course I would. It's been an amazing experience, and your office is unbelievable. And based on what I've heard from other interns, this is the one to do.
That's good to hear that. I like that.
Yes, definitely, I would recommend it. We've heard that other interns do a lot of copying and getting coffee, and we actually get to dig in and work on some issues, so it's been really cool.
Excellent. Michael?
And yeah, I would say the exact same thing. It's you actually get to do things that as an intern here that you probably wouldn't in some other offices. It's a good entrance into the world of DC, definitely, and I think I definitely want to go on to a job in policy, and I think probably the other three do in some respect as well. So yeah, it's a good entrance to that, and good experience. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, and I appreciate all of you and the hard work, and we do believe that our interns should not just be here to pour coffee, but they need to do a lot of work, and they do a lot of work. Again, thank you all for joining us on this segment of Alaska Report. I want to thank again my special guests, Rosalie, Reid, Elizabeth, and Michael, for joining me today and being part of our staff. And again, thank you for all of you that are listening and watching us today. Have a great day. I'm looking forward to being back in Alaska.